Welcome. This is The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is Week 1 Review Snap Report. I'll be posting this the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. Announce it on Twitter. There's always a debate about points and volume. Okay, I think our philosophy at the Science of Fantasy Football is volume, and snaps are one way to follow that volume. I've never seen any studies to say that targets versus snaps is the way to do it. And I probably should uh, figure out how to test that question, right? Which one is better off season? I've never done that research. So much research to be done. So what I have time for the website is the snap report. Certainly, I will look at targets and touches as well, and certainly keep that in the database. But I think what I'm doing here is going to give you an insight that you need for waiver wires and trades and just kind of what happened, right? So we're always looking backward. It's a team sport, it's a system. And so when you look backwards at one aspect, you're going to lose, right? The whole thing, right? You're going to lose knowledge. Okay. That's just kind of how we operate. But you should at least be aware of the limitations to any kind of backward looking and then trying to use that forward, right? It's like stock market and anything else, any type of gambling. Past performance does not indicate, what's going to happen in the future. But this is what we have. This is where we start anyway. And all I want to do in any of my weekly material is to inspire you to think, consider options, consider alternative uh, views, thinking. What is not so nice is when you see views espoused and there's kind of no data behind it. It's just kind of, oh, I feel this way, or I saw that, or it's not as clear. I try to keep my eye on the data and the metrics. So, given the caveats of looking backward, looking at things like snaps, I've tried to see things differently a little bit. You'll see when I get into this, and I'll post all these figures for everybody. Uh, Figure 1 is just the average of the team snaps week 1, and then I scaled it. And I did note the teams that were overtime. Previously, to get around that, I've done snaps per second, and that's probably what I should do, but it takes a lot of time to do that, to look at the rate of snaps, and I think there's secrets there, and I've talked about that and done research, and there is secrets there. But anyway, so some of the teams with the highest snap averages were the ones that were in overtime, Cincinnati and Indianapolis, for example. What I think is interesting, look at the snaps of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was in overtime, yet it's kind of mid-pack. So, uh, what does that say about Pittsburgh and what they were doing? And is this an indication that they're going to be a slower team? Usually, slow teams probably run a lot more than maybe faster teams. That's just big generalization. So I think we should use this data to consider the aspect of how these teams are going to be conducting their attacks, their offenses, the speed, the number of opportunities players will get. Things like Carolina, Seattle, Baltimore were at the low end. So one wonders the opportunities versus the Jets, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Washington, Atlanta, and again, the data will smooth out as we go. So this is, we take this with a grain of salt, but we'll have a clear idea of how teams want to proceed. I think when the next couple of weeks we'll be looking at their snaps and we'll be seeing that. So how does a team want to proceed? So that's, I think, the big takeaway here. I am a little concerned about Pittsburgh there having all that overtime time and yet, uh, didn't really do a lot of snaps compared to the other, teams there. And I know there was a lot of turnovers in Cincinnati and whatnot. So that may have been some of that as well. Didn't need to do a lot. Uh, I made a box graph or a bar graph looking at the teams from high to low. So just, it's a visual way to kind of spot a team of interest if you're considering the waiver wire or any kind of thing. You can kind of see where the team was, what they were doing. Going to be curious to see, for instance, without Dak Prescott, what Dallas does. Dallas was about average, a little bit above average, but pretty much average. So does that go down? Does that speed up because Cooper Rush is not as good? So there's a lot more passing. So does the run game, Elliott and whatnot, does Pollard kind of get more opportunities? Be curious to see how that goes, without Dak Prescott. And think about some of these other teams as well. So just kind of think about the narrative and kind of use this as a visual way to inspire that thinking. Okay. So another way to consider how a team wants to proceed is doing something called usage, and we do it the position layer of the team. So notice where we started from a top down approach. I've been speaking using top down approaches because I think we all do a lot of bottom up work, kind of look at the player and then going from there. And since most people do that, I like to go top down in my metrics and whatnot. So here's four teams, first four, just alphabetical. The position, the number of the average player snaps for all in that position. And if you sum that up and then have a percentage of that average snaps for the total average, you get a number, and that's percent usage. So right away for Arizona, even though Zach Ertz is there, once again, and I don't know if you've followed me enough to know, but Arizona has never had a strong tight end usage, and I hate to see this for if you own Zach Ertz, and I do in a league or two that I'm streaming tight ends. So this doesn't help my confidence at all, seeing basically 20%. So that's, you can take a look at Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo. You can see right away Atlanta really, really sticks out. So you can see that is an issue. And notice the balance then. would be wide receivers. So Arizona, and they've done this before, is all in on the wide receivers as well. So Connor will get his, but it is clear that Arizona is going to be passing, passing, passing. And the usage is close to 50%, which is very intriguing, actually. So just be aware of that. And I think there was some interesting players that weren't on the radar that I've been putting on my waiver wire from Arizona, wide receivers. So you can go find out who that is. At Atlanta, Kyle Pitts, people were worried. Well, 37, that's as good usage as you can ask for in a tight end. Baltimore with Andrews, 42%. Just be aware, everybody's on the Baltimore wide receivers, 28% usage. That's not, I understand people are going to be grabbing folks off the waiver wire, but just realize that, how efficient. In other words, if you have few snaps, but you're really efficient at it, right? The scoring efficiency, then I guess you can get away with that. Just keep your eyes on that. Buffalo, people talking about Knox. Knox was there and used quite nicely. And in fact, the running backs were not strongly used, even though you might have got a different impression. So I use this metric with the following together. This is a visual of these teams. And so right away, you can look at the triangles or the usage and the average snaps. And so right away, you can compare just visually, team by team. And, for instance, Baltimore, I'm so glad that I grabbed Andrews. I think that is the way. And Arizona, I'm concerned already, week one, Zach Ertz. So he better be damn efficient in the red zone there. And let's see what else is. Strikes me that Atlanta looks like Buffalo a little bit. I think that's kind of interesting. So over time, I think the best is having a complete diagonal line from running back, tight end, and having wide receivers. And so far, none of these teams, of course, it's week one, show that pattern there. So I'm going to kind of skip through. You can look at the data. I'll just go here for the next uh, play here. And so when I meant uh, the pattern, Carolina is a little steep on the pattern, but that's what I'm looking at. Notice Chicago with Cole Kmet, he was used. Notice Cincinnati, the tight end is not used. And the running backs, look at the running backs for Cincinnati. Very intriguing for Mixon. So I'm pleased. So I think that P. Ryan is probably definitely, if this is the usage, then P. Ryan's going to be worth a handcuff there. Here's Cleveland, tight end, and wide receivers. I would like it to be a little more Carolina-like, And by the way, Robbie Anderson in Carolina, everybody, well, that is a great usage. And you want Robbie Anderson all day in a kind of team that does that pattern. So right away, I think you're seeing the power of the top down and the positional usage. I hope you are. And I don't think a lot of the big sites are doing this kind of stuff. I'm trying to, let you see tools that I use. I'm a visual learner, and most of us are. We do, pretty good auditory as well, and certainly memorization. I'm obviously PhD professor, so I can memorize a lot of things. I guarantee you I can. Uh, yeah, I'm good. Just assume Dr. Bush is good at memorizing because I am. Uh, and so just looking at these patterns is a really refreshing way to see this. And again, not a lot of people, unfortunately, there's everybody's on the street corner yelling they're the expert. And that's too bad because I think some of the data driven folks may be getting drowned out by all the hype, the flash. And to me, I like, the meat on the bone, not just flicking the bone around, right? So anyway, here's the patterns that I use and consider. And what's neat, if you do this every week, you get an idea of, and the idea becomes more firm, right? So even drafting next year, right? You're still remembering if Baltimore keeps using things tied in and their pattern, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for there, is to do that. So here's Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. Just uh, Schultz. If Schultz seemed to be down a little bit, look how they were, throwing everything to the running back. And wide receivers are there, but not as high. And so the tight end wasn't as dramatic. Look at Denver. I know the tight end may have got some splash, but that tells me Wilson's all about the wide. So people, Judy or Sutton, both folks. This usage tells me both. And the running back, people keep squawking for how Denver should run their running back. Nothing here tells me it won't continue as a timeshare, folks. So don't get yourself all mad. Detroit, uh, all about that passing, but the running as well. So they're trying to do a balance thing, but Hawkinson may be a casualty in that. Just be aware. Green Bay, look at Green Bay, same thing. Notice the pattern. Same thing, but even a weak tight end. So Tanyan is going to be weak, and if you drafted him in a streaming, I'm just not sure there might be other choices out there, folks. So just be aware. I know he'll have his day, but don't like that pattern for him if you drafted Tanyan. Uh, Dillon and Jones both. I know people are saying, because remember, scoring can hide usage. Look at Houston, exactly opposite of what I would like to see. So I think Rex Burkhead probably had a great situation because Houston wasn't doing what they needed to do. And the tight end, Houston is going to use Howard over the wide receivers right now. Look at that. That is a weird pattern. And that is something we want to monitor. I'm not used to seeing that kind of where the wide receivers are the lowest used. So Houston, we'll see what they're ending up. They're going to be struggling with that. I think right now, if I had to guess, I think Burkhead is going to get overhyped. Indianapolis, balance, running back, wide receiver. There's tight end. I wish you grabbed Mo Alley Cox. And the other ones, I wish that was better. Jacksonville. The pattern is not as much running back as I would have thought. In the tight end, they're still not using their tight end, but they were heavily using the running backs, the wide receivers there. Some of the best, highest usage. didn't have as many snaps, but highly used. So I think Zay Jones, and that's telling us we should invest in the passing there for Lawrence. Kansas City never uses its running backs. And when I say that, this pattern here is not surprising to me. With Tyreek, that usage would have been up. It would have been more of a linear up. So Kelsey was compensating for not having Tyreek. So I'm curious, does that pattern continue? So notice I'm making statements and comments using this data. I don't think you're hearing out there, folks. So the few of you that are listening, thank you for listening. Yay. I think you're going to get opportunities to think about things differently, and it's going to give you, it has to give you an advantage, right? Sacred, scarce knowledge is always better than, what everybody knows, right? So I say this on the podcast. If you're at the racetrack and the hot dog man is telling you a tip, you should immediately just not bet that race because everybody is on top the secret tip of the secret horse. Okay, let's continue. So when I look at this allows me to think about how the team performed week one in a different way. Chargers, that is very intriguing. And Keelan Allen might be out, so Mike Williams should bounce back. Notice their tight ends are being used well. Eckler, come on, Eckler. Looks like you could be used more. So I'm curious uh, how, they do, especially without Allen. Do note how they'll proceed without Allen there. And I did pick up, I forgot whoever the tight end is. Sometimes there's so many players yet. So Dr. Bush, my mind's going. The tight end, I think, is worth a stream or a long shot in daily fantasy sports there. The Rams, looks like they're trying to do their tight end equal to the running backs. I know that, Henderson did a lot of activity, but uh, and the wide receivers, I would have thought the wide receivers would have been stronger given who Cooper Kupp is. To me, that pattern says you know, I'm a little worried about Stafford's arm. I don't like that pattern. I envisioned the Rams wide receivers being more used. So I'm not happy, and I am in a lot of leagues. I only pick up one quarterback. With Stafford as the one I end up picking, I'm going to have to grab a second quarterback. I'm probably overreacting, but that plus what I'm seeing here adds to that concern. The Raiders wide receivers highly concerned about the running back. I'm sorry, running back. Look at that. Weak. That is sad usage there, Raiders. Waller, about where I thought, and wide receivers. So I would like to see the running backs up about 20% usage, and this is weak. So I would be very cautious about investing heavily in the running game if this is the pattern. So we're guessing what the pattern is or isn't here. Miami, they didn't like Gesicki, did they? Check that out. Look at the running backs versus the wide receivers. I would expected more usage from the wide receivers with Tyreek. So even though it seemed to, work out, I guess, on what they were doing, I'm not pleased to see Tyreek in a crew that's being used like this. Hopefully his actual individual touches, or if that's the case, that means everybody else must have sucked. So not happy about that pattern at all for Miami. Minnesota. Uh, Everybody talking about that tight end Minnesota. And look at, it's all about Jefferson, and I think Thielen in this environment with the wide receivers over 50%. Thielen's going to have to be used. He will get his. I would not, uh, run away from Thielen if you grab him as your third or fourth wide receiver there. Not happy to see Cook being, uh, not used like I think he should. So that's a weird. I mean, if you like PPR passing, that's a great pattern for that. New England, look at, they're getting Hunter Henry the ball there. Look at that and using him. That is just weak sauce for the wide receivers. I don't like that. Is not a positive pattern to me at all. I am very concerned about the wide receivers. I've got Myers in a lot of places. I picked up Devontae Parker. I'm getting rid of him, and that probably may be a mistake. But right now, I think I've got to go fishing elsewhere, not seeing what I need. The Saints, I know Michael Thomas very efficient. He was efficient, but I'm not pleased about Kamara. Look at that. That is beyond sad for Kamara. So I continue to have confidence issues on the running backs and the Saints and the wide receivers. Can they keep being efficient? Not happy about that. Giants is kind of ho hum. Everybody's about the same, and that's not a recipe for success. I know Saquon did well, and I'm glad he broke out and looks like he's going to be used. But I would like to see higher usage if that's where they're going. Uh, I would like to see higher usage there and higher usage for the wide receivers. So I'm liking Saquon, but I'm not pleased with the wide receivers at all. That pattern is wrong. The Jets, it's all about the run game. Looks like they're going to be doing a lot of running. So Carter and Hall looks like that was a good choice. If we're reading that. The tight end got more play than I thought, so that's intriguing. Maybe a streamer option there or a daily fantasy uh, play. Philadelphia, that is a nice pattern, and like to see Goddard. That Devonta Smith should come back. That is a pattern that I'm used to seeing, that linear pattern, and I think that's good news for the wide receivers uh, and the tight end. So I'm I'm happy about Philadelphia. Pittsburgh, uh, wide receivers. Hey, no, here's something. The running back though, Harris is hurt. Uh, Not so good. Fairmouth is okay. I like seeing more. Just kind of underwhelmed, but they were pretty efficient. Pittsburgh was, but I'm gonna watch them. Seattle, boy, I'm really. I know everybody talking about Geno Smith. Here's what I'm talking about: wide receivers not used like the tight ends. That's not a positive pattern, folks. That tells me that Geno is may not be the answer they think he is. I understand winning changes everything, but I'm not pleased with my Metcalf Lockett shares. I really thought he was going to be better, and I still have hope, but boy, not liking that pattern at all. That is not okay. last four. San Francisco, uh, running. Yep. Wide receivers. I'm really liking that. The tight end. I would hope Kittle gets more show than that. So that's a little bit, eh. And I would definitely like the wide receivers to be higher. Tampa Bay. Worried about Tampa Bay, folks. I know. I guess they're going to run, try to keep Brady efficient. So Brady's score may not be a fluke, and I am drafting extra quarterback if I have Brady. I'm not happy about Stafford's pattern. Not happy about what I'm seeing here. Tennessee, I hope the tight ends get what they get, but the wide receivers are nice. Henry, a little low, so I think they need. It wouldn't surprise me to see that go up over time. Not happy if you're a Robert Woods fan. 30% sucks on wide receivers here. In fact, all these teams are not as 35%, I guess. Not as high as I'd like. Washington, Logan Thomas is not going away, folks. That is an interesting pattern here. Running is going to be important. Gibson and McKissick. I would like to see a higher passing than what I saw. I mean, Samuel and McLaurin caught that touchdown, so he woke up. I think Samuel's worth the play with that pattern there, folks. I'm definitely targeting him where I can. Okay. So that was, wow, 30 minutes. I'm sorry. So let me just go through one team on my final look in. And so what I'm doing here at the player level is I may note so this is within the team. And you can look in the grand total. I've got all 32 teams here, and you can look at the snaps within the team, see what's what. You can see Zach Ertz, for instance, 39 is the low boy of the bunch. That's sad. Connor's 47, Eno Benjamin 22. So don't forget that. That says Connor is a bell cow. Look at that. It's almost 2x. I mean, if it gets to 3x, that certified bell cow. At least that's the metric. Dortch is very intriguing to me. 59. Now, I know Hopkins is not there, and he might go back. I think short-term rental for him. Go in. Go get him. And you're saying, well, what are these columns above? Those are the scoring level per snap. So I divided all the players from week one into the top 25% high, the bottom 25% low, and then the next 25 down above average and then below average. So now I think this is the real way to look at a bottom up play is look at Connor. He scored above average compared to other running backs, and he had a nice set of snaps. And what about Benjamin? What does that say? I think he overscored his snaps, is what that tells me. So I understand he's a handcuff, all into that, but I wouldn't expect that kind of scoring level every week at all. So don't draft him just to score. Draft him as a handcuff to Connor. So Ertz, high scoring, but low snaps compared to the team. So if you have Ertz and playing great, but not happy about the snap usage. Brown, Dortch, above average scoring in wide receivers, nice, but they weren't high. So that I continue to worry about Arizona's firepower, but that's nice. And Dortch is a short-term rental. So each team look at the scoring level and the snap level. Look at Patterson. Everybody talking about, well, who's Pat? There you go. High scoring, high snaps. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that. You can see the other ones there. So Pitts, love those snaps. Look at that. Highest snaps on the team. Just didn't get it done. So I'm not worried about him. London, nice snaps of the wide receivers and above average scoring. Looks like Zacchaeus is going to be fighting with Edwards there. I just don't know if there's enough meat on the bone for you to grab either one of them. That Hodge was overscoring his snaps. So that's the verbiage you need to think of, is be concerned about players that overscore their snap there. And Hodge is another example. 20 snaps, but yet high scoring. So that can trick you. So I like to look at somebody like Patterson and his pattern, Patterson's pattern, and versus Hodges' pattern there. So I've got all these team level divided by scoring week one and their snaps week one. So I think you can get again a bottom up clear picture of the player level there. So I'm not worried about Pitts there, for example. So I urge you to go through all the teams, kind of even verbalize what you're seeing here, and make notes. And people are not presenting data like this, folks. They're not presenting it that way. Just give you a list of numbers, and to me, this is value added stuff. That's what the professor can bring to you. I'm not probably going to have time for targets or touches during the week. I just, some of it's got a life to do. And anyway, but I think this is a good compromise, is a good tool to fish around a little bit bottom up. So I cover the positional top down. I think that's a great way to look at the patterns, and then we look at the players. So between the two visual aids, I think you can get a good sense for what happened week one. And again, what does that mean for week two? You got to think about defense. Things have changed, right? Whatever we think, things are going to change. Whatever we saw week one, it's going to be gone. We'll have a new, brand new week. But we're looking for trends and patterns and volume. So chase those kind of things. So not only volume, but chase patterns as well. And again, if you do that, you're going to be above the rest of the folks. Good luck week two. I'll have more stuff coming. Even my dog's going to help me. Okay, woo woo, we're having fun.